She's on the
Muriel
line now?
Bowser joins us right now.
Good morning.
We're having our own debate about your debates, Ms. Bowser. Why won't you debate David Catania?
Oh, I'll debate everybody who's eligible for the ballot, and actually I'm looking forward to doing it.
Okay, but the ballot is not going to be finalized until mid-September, and that leaves only, 7 weeks before...
No, actually it'll be finalized in August.
Oh, it will. Okay, thank you.
When people turn their attention back to civic affairs and school and all that, that's when the debates will happen.
Oh, but here's the thing. I mean, let's face it, David Catania is the number one alternative to you, Ms. Bowser.
Well,
there's
who
gonna
knows?
Be,
How do you know that?
So you're going to do one of these things where there's like 6 other candidates. The guy who's like the rent is too high guy is going to be up there on the panel, too, and that'll waste time.
Well, actually, when we were in the primary, it's 13 months in the primary, probably 25 debates, and I participated in just as many of them as I could. And people who qualified for the ballot were invited, and in some cases they weren't towards the end. But I think that's how debates work. People want to come out and hear everybody's ideas and make their decision.
All right. One last question on the debates. How many debates will you commit to?
I don't know.
Do you have any idea? More than 3?
I don't know. Actually, what we're going to do is we'll look at the invitations that come in. Here's my goal. My goal is to make sure that we have the widest representation of residents across the city and voters, and that they have the opportunity to have a debate. We want them to be larger scale debates that are widespread, easily located near transit. And I expect, of course, that we'll have some debates that go over TV and radio.
All right.
Yeah, for 7 hours and almost 11 minutes now.
Amen.
Pot has been decriminalized in the District of Columbia. It is now a greater crime to litter in the District of Columbia than it is to possess a small amount of pot. How do you feel about that?
It's not a greater crime. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's a $25 fine if you're...
Okay, there's a greater fine with regard...
Greater punishment, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, to decriminalizing.
Well, but that's not splitting hairs, though.
It was very important to do, and the council moved to decriminalize marijuana, because what we just found is that the huge disparity in arrest and prosecution was disadvantaging so many of our residents. And in fact, I think one data point suggests that 91% of all convictions for possession were of African Americans, compared to 4% of their white counterparts.
It's water under the bridge, but isn't that a policing issue rather than a marijuana issue? I mean, it sounds as if what you're saying is the law was applied unequally. That's a policing issue.
The law was applied unequally, certainly, and more than that, there are just a lot of changes in mores and views about if marijuana should be illegal at all. And if you look at some of the surveys across the District of Columbia, we're finding more and more people think that it shouldn't. And this is where we felt that we would decriminalize small amounts of marijuana. And I frankly, and the use of marijuana inside one's home, off of public property. And anything beyond that, of course, a person is subject to a fine.
But you know that in the Republican House, they voted, and there were 20 Democrats who joined Republicans in the House yesterday to change that, to send it back to the way it was. And at the same time, incidentally, and probably the bigger story, they want to do away with the strict gun laws in the District of Columbia by, saying you can't spend any money to enforce them. How do you feel about them apples?
Well, we are counting on the Democrats in the Senate to make sure that never happens. And obviously, we know what's happening when you have Republican lawmakers who can't get legislation through for their own states, are using the District of Columbia as their playground, basically, so that they can make a name for themselves in the Congress and at home. And we know about those politics. And we're grateful to have strong Democratic allies who will block those things as they happen. And that's why we feel very strongly that our values are not only represented in the mayor's office, but represented at the Congress as well.
Muriel Bowser is our guest, D.C. council member and Democratic candidate for mayor in the district. And Finis Jones, former property manager of Park Southern Apartments, these towers that the Washington Post is focused on, just really fallen into horrible disrepair with mold and broken pipes and rodent infestations. He's a huge, huge supporter of your campaign. Do you think that you can appropriately judge what's gone on there in the district, considering your close ties with Mr. Jones?
I absolutely can appropriately judge what's going on there, but more than that, what I have decided, and I think you know, a couple of days ago, I referred the matter to our independent inspector general to look at all allegations of mismanagement at Park Southern. And I think Mr. Jones, who you referred to, was brought into Park Southern towards the last months of March and April, the starting months of this year, to look at Park Southern. And as I understand it, he is fully participating in what the government, the executive side of the government, has asked him to report.
Is he still involved with your campaign?
He is a supporter of our campaign, yes.
But it doesn't go beyond supporter, though?
What does that mean?
Well, I mean, is he one of your go-to counselors and advisors? Is he doing some heavy lifting in terms of fundraising? Where does he rank in fundraising?
He's been a volunteer on our campaign since the beginning, and he has fundraised for us.
All right. Well, can I just ask one more follow-up question on the decriminalization of pot thing? If it's discovered that maybe 80% of the people who get busted for prostitution are African American, would you be willing to decriminalize prostitution in the district?
As you know, we have in the district, we've had prostitution-free zones for years. And we have also looked at ways to tweak those prostitution zones so that we don't have people after people after people being arrested for low-level crimes. Here's the deal, and Larry and Brian, that I want to make perfectly clear. When we have young people, especially, that make mistakes early in life, that prevent them, whether there's some kind of misdemeanor or felony conviction for marijuana, that prevent them from getting student loans, prevent them from getting employment. What we then have in our city is a lot of people with a criminal background that cannot work. And the question is, does it make sense? And what the council said unanimously, except for one, said is it doesn't make sense for our city.
Right.
And we think that the residents of the District of Columbia agree.
And you'll be in favor of legalization?
Well, there's going to be a ballot measure, we think. The question will be on the ballot.
And where are you on that issue?
I'm sorry?
Where are you on that issue?
This is where I am. If the residents vote for it and they agree with it, I have committed as mayor to sign it into law.
All right.
It's always so great to have you.
We appreciate it a lot.
And as the campaign develops, we'll love to have you back.
Well, I'll be back.
All right, Muriel Bowser,
Always
thanks for
appreciate
joining
it.
us.
Looking forward to it. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.